What if Megumi Fushiguro were in Demon Slayer? Could the user of the 10 Shadows defeat Muzan and his upper moons? Or would Megumi use his ultimate trump card and summon Mahoraga, the Divine General? Well, if he does that, we know that everyone is screwed and there won't be a single living soul left in this world. But will Megumi have any other choice? That's what we want to see. And how did Megumi end up in Demon Slayer? Look, Megumi Fushiguro is swallowed by an attack from a special grade curse while fighting in the Culling game, being thrown across dimensions and landing on the damp and sinister ground of Mount Natagumo. While struggling to survive on the mountain, Megumi soon realizes that he's in a different world, infested not by curses born from negative emotions, but by creatures that feed on humans. Notice that Megumi, among everyone in his group and the vast majority of sorcerers, is very interesting. He's intelligent, able to act calmly under pressure and think quickly, so he would easily understand the situation he's in. Fushiguro carries with him the weight of the 10 Shadows technique, a versatile and dangerous arsenal, something that allows him to cross the mountain easily, until his encounter with Rui, lower 5. At this moment, Rui had finished his fight against Tanjiro and was putting his head back in place. Noticing that Megumi might interfere with his conversation with Tanjiro, Rui unleashes his hardened blood threads to slice the sorcerer. Here, the matchup heavily favors the sorcerer. Because Fushiguro has sharp reflexes and combat instincts, enough to react to special grade curses and hypersonic fighters like Toji Zenin. His eyes track the threads with no difficulty. His physical strength and endurance, constantly reinforced by the flow of cursed energy in his muscles, put his base attributes far above any moon. Without even backing down, Megumi uses his technique, and from the 10 shadows cast by the mountain trees, Divine Dog Totality emerges. The immense black wolf charges forward in a burst of speed. With a single pounce, its claws imbued with cursed energy tear through Rui's threads as if they were old sewing thread. Shock is instant on the Oni's face, who doesn't have time to react before the Divine Dog rips off and devours his head. Unlike the Nichirin swords that use the sun, the volatile cursed energy acts like a corrosive poison on the demon's cellular biology, purging its regenerative core in seconds. Rui turns to ashes. When Gyu Tomioka and Shinobu Kocho arrive at the scene, they find only the boy in a dark uniform with his hands in his pockets, accompanied by a monstrous wolf. When Tomioka and Shinobu were preparing to attack Fushiguro, Tanjiro steps in their way and explains that the young sorcerer saved him. It's a unique case. So, the best choice would be to take Fushiguro to Kagaya Ubuyashiki, the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, and as they head to the Corps, the meeting with the Hashiras takes place. Sanemi doesn't agree with bringing the demon and such a sorcerer, who could have been sent by Muzan, into the Demon Slayer Corps. But Kagaya is willing to listen to their stories and also tells Megumi about Muzan and his demons. Megumi listens to the story of the Demon Slayers. He doesn't care about their centuries-old war, but his reasoning is cold and logical. Muzan Kibutsuji acts as a primordial curse in this world. If eradicating Muzan is the necessary trigger to reverse the curse and send him back home, he accepts the alliance. Megumi's first official mission alongside the hunters. He is placed on the Mugen train, accompanying Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Kyojuro Rengoku, the Flame Hashira. Before Enmu, or lower rank 1, merges with the train and becomes a powerful enemy, it is Fushiguro, as a sorcerer, who senses the disturbance in the environment, that is, negative energies derived from bad intentions. In a similar way to how he senses the presence of a curse manifesting, so he runs toward Enmu to neutralize him alongside Rengoku, the Flame Hashira. After putting an end to Enmu, the train is derailed by a surprise attack, but Megumi wastes no time. He summons the Max Elephant, and a colossal waterspout gushes out with the force of thousands of tons of pressure, and floods the train cars and forcibly stops the engine, protecting the passengers from disaster. The one who caused the attack was Akaza, the Upper Moon 3, who appears before the hunters. Rengoku draws his blade to protect the young ones, but Megumi notices the discrepancy in physical power between the Hashira and the martial demon. Fushiguro steps forward, summoning the rabbit escape. Thousands of rabbits flood Akaza's vision in a sea of white, disorienting the demon's battle compass. Giving Rengoku valuable openings to attack, Megumi easily comes up with a plan. Akaza moves well in a 2-on-1 battle because of his compass, meaning he can sense his opponent's spirit. Quickly, Megumi summons his rabbits again. Ready to wipe them out even faster this time, Akaza does so, and for a valuable split second, Megumi gets the opening he needed. When Akaza tries to land a fatal blow on Fushiguro and Rengoku, the sorcerer smiles, crossing his fingers in an incomplete domain expansion, Chimera Shadow Garden. The ground of the battlefield melts into a thick ocean of liquid darkness. Dozens of frogs, Megumi's clones, and Shadow Claws grab Akaza's legs and arms, sinking the upper moon and completely shattering the foundation of his martial arts. His sense of direction is lost as Megumi teleports between the shadows. The upper moon panics when he realizes he has nowhere to step, sinking into his own shadow, and the worst happens to him. The first rays of sunlight begin to appear on the horizon. Desperate and trapped in the domain, Akaza has no choice but to forcibly tear off his own legs to escape the swamp of darkness and dive into the trees. Surviving by a thread, Rengoku remains alive and unharmed, but fate, especially in wars, often charges a high price for unplanned miracles. Soon after, Tengen Uzui recruits reinforcements to investigate the entertainment district, and once again, Megumi is with the team. Finding Daki disguised among the courtesans is child's play for someone trained to track energy and murderous intent. When the fight breaks out, Fushiguro submerges Daki in a huge torrent of water unleashed by his Shikigami, Max Elephant, taking the fight out to sea so she can't cause collateral damage. That's when Gyutaro emerges from his sister's back, throwing his sickles coated in poisonous blood. Remember that Megumi can move through the shadows. Soon, he does so to dodge Gyutaro's insane attack and appear in a safe and protected spot. Uzui takes the front line against upper rank 6. And during this clash, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke face off against Daki, but they are not alone. Megumi leaves Nui with them, providing air support. Meanwhile, the sorcerer supports Uzui in the battle, being a valuable asset with his abilities. When Inosuke cuts off Daki's head for the first time, the hunters realize they need to decapitate both demons at the same time. Thus, Fushiguro takes advantage of the opening at a crucial moment in the battle to use his frogs, which pull the demons together with their tongues, bringing them to a single point, something crucial for Uzui's dual blades to decapitate them in a fraction of a second. The victory in the district is overwhelming and without casualties. Tanjiro doesn't even chip the blade of his sword. Since he doesn't need to repair his sword, Tanjiro doesn't go to the Swordsmith village, and this will lead to major changes. But look, Tanjiro also doesn't awaken his Demon Slayer mark, precisely because it was Uzui who decapitated the Upper Moon 6, and this will actually lead to even bigger changes in the story. However, Fushiguro understands that using cursed energy all the time to destroy demon cells is a waste of stamina. He needs a sword forged from sunlight-infused ore, so he goes to the Swordsmith village to get his custom Nichirin sword. And remember, Megumi can store items in his shadows, so he wouldn't ask for just one sword, or rather, just one weapon. But look, while waiting for Haganezuka to finish the job, the Swordsmith village is invaded by Gyoko and Hantengu, the Upper Moons 5 and 4. While Muichiro was getting to know Megumi better, Hantengu appears, and when he is decapitated, his clones emerge, who would blow Multiro out of the room with a gust of wind, making him run into Gyoko. And this time, Fushiguro summons his frogs just like a skilled hunter. Megumi turns the battlefield into a true nightmare zoo. He summons Nue, the giant electric bird whose lightning instantly paralyzes Rantengo's emotional clones. And with Muichiro fighting against the Oni's clones while Nue paralyzes them, victory is immediate until the appearance of Zohakuten, the clone of hatred. While Rantengo uses his wooden dragons to ensure that Muichiro doesn't escape defeat, Fushiguro flies over the Oni, being carried by Nue. And as he throws himself from the top of the skies, Fushiguro summons his Max Elephant, which weighs hundreds of tons. And with the impact on the ground above the Oni, Fushiguro subdues Zohakuten, allowing Multiro to find the original clone and eliminate him. But the fight is not over yet. Gyoko is on the loose fighting against Mitsuri, and unfortunately, the Hashira can't defeat the Oni alone, especially while protecting two blacksmiths at the same time. But notice that the battle against Hantengu ended much earlier in this timeline, something that allows the hunters to head towards the Love Hashira. Soon, Gyoko is exterminated by Mitsuri and Muichiro, while Genya and Fushiguro ensure the safety of the blacksmiths. The hunters' victory in the village angers Muzan. He then decides to invade the hunters' organization to put an end once and for all to the thorns in his side. And when the fateful night of the battle arrives, Kagaya's trap is triggered. Muzan is surrounded by the Hashiras and poisoned by Tamayo. But notice that this time, Tamayo's poison is less effective against Muzan because Nezuko was not able to awaken her immunity to the sun since she was not subjected to Tawa. After all, she didn't go to the Swordsmith village and her blood was crucial for Tamayo to develop her poison against Muzan and a cure for the demons. Therefore, Nezuko will also fight in the final battle of the Hunters during the Infinity Castle arc. Thus, when they are thrown into the Infinity Castle, the Hunters come face to face with their opponents. When Megumi finds himself alongside Gyomei Himejima and Sanemi Shinazugawa facing Kokushibo, the Upper Moon one, there is a huge speed discrepancy. The demon's dozens of lunar blades would slice the Hashiras to pieces if it weren't for Fushiguro's strategic support. With no time to hesitate and seeing Sanemi being cornered, Megumi floods the battlefield with his Chimera Shadow Garden. Shadow clones and gigantic frogs intercept the fatal attacks, allowing Gyomei, using only his colossal physical strength, to crush the demon swordsman's head. In a coordinated attack, the battle leaves everyone on the verge of physical collapse, but there's no time to rest. The other Hashiras and Demon Slayers continue their fight, and worse, without the Demon Slayer mark, which implies big changes, right? Actually, not so much. Remember that Rengoku is alive and Nezuko is also fighting alongside the Demon Slayers. Nezuko is a powerful demon, being able to surpass even Daki, an Upper Moon. So look, Rengoku, Tomioka and Tanjiro are fighting against the house. Consequently, Tanjiro awakens the transparent world, and the climax of the battle against Upper Moon 3 makes him awaken the Slayer mark, allowing him to defeat the demon. Nezuko supports Shinobu in her battle against Doma, allowing the insect Hashira to survive until reinforcements, Kanao and Inosuke, arrive, putting an end to Doma. The secondary battles happen in the same way, with Nakimi being defeated and the Infinity Castle collapsing, with everyone being spit back out to the surface. And now the final battle against Muzan begins. When Muzan emerges from his grotesque cocoon of flesh, his flesh whips tear through the air at a speed undetectable even to the fastest Hashiras. Muzan knows that the defeat of his Upper Moons was the fault of the aberration that came into this world. Soon Muzan ignores the remaining Hashiras and focuses all his fury on devouring Megumi Fushiguro, brutally mutilating the exhausted hunters who try to defend him. Remember, Tanjiro has just awakened the Hunter's Mark and the Transparent World. The Hashiras still haven't managed to awaken their Hunter's Mark. And worse, Tanjiro, who would be the key player here, is under enormous strain because he's not used to the power of the Mark. Cornered, with his level of cursed energy plummeting and watching the hunter's hope fade away in a bloodbath, Megumi Fushiguro has no choice but to summon the Divine General as his last resort. The King of Demons charges forward with everything he's got, believing that his flesh whips, which destroy any opponent at the cellular level, are enough to take down more of Megumi Fushiguro's Shikigami. But this is no ordinary Shikigami. It's simply Maro Mahoraga, the one who adapts to anything, even adapting to Muzan's speed and his attacks, and in the end, even adapting to the biology of the King of Demons. In the end, his blade is able to shatter Muzan before the sun rises. Mahoraga tears Muzan into hundreds of pieces, burned by his adapted blade, suppressing any chance of cell division and escape. In the end, the condition for Megumi Fushiguro to return is met, the defeat of the King of Demons. And he finally returns to the world of Jujutsu, just as Mahoraga returns to where he came from. Victory for the hunters is finally achieved after centuries. However, without an antidote for Nezuko, she turns to dust, just like the other demons with Muzan's fall. Victory came at a price, and everyone will remember the efforts of Nezuko and Megumi Fushiguro. But notice that the hunters only survived because Mahoraga returned to the shadows and didn't remain free as he should have. But what if Mahoraga were in Demon Slayer in his natural state? You can find that out in this video here. In it, I tell you everything that would happen to the Demon Slayers if Mahoraga were present in this universe, with no conditions for his return. I'll see you there, otaku!